Alright everyone, a second extra video of the day because we have new news now that John Mcafee has apparently been found dead in his cell in Spain. He was awaiting extradition. They granted it literally the other day on tax evasion charges actually to the United States, and the insinuation of course is that he killed himself. I don't think so. John Mcafee doesn't strike me as the sort of person that would be interested in that. Now, John Mcafee, of course, he's of antivirus fame if you're a millennial. He divested himself of the shitty antivirus. It was alright when he was in charge of it. He divested himself and it basically became bloatware. And he dabbled in cryptocurrency and anything computer related and a million other things. Sort of a little bit like Branson, I guess. Or even like an Elon Musk. Sort of like an Elon Musk sort of character. And was wanted for tax evasion. And the initial thing that I thought of when I saw this, here's a person who essentially has spent some years and ran for the Libertarian presidential nomination in 2016. He sort of stood with the free speechiness of the early wave internet when a lot of the people, like Zuckerberg or whatever, they sold out. Zuckerberg, fucking Jack Dorsey or whatever, all of these other people, they became totalitarian. A handful of people stayed libertarian in form within the tech world. Mcafee was one of them. Now, first and foremost, I wasn't a huge fan of his character. Very egotistical, over the top, sort of like a Hugh Hefner sort of character. I didn't want him to be the Libertarian nominee, although in retrospect, would have been better than Gary Johnson, I suppose. I think Austin Peterson was the better choice that particular year. But he stood for freedom. He never stood for censorship. And in his over-the-top, hyperbolic way, was sort of a total libertarian in general. When I look at this situation and I see that he was being held for an extended period under tax evasion charges, I can only think of Al Capone. And if you know anything about the story of Al Capone, it's eerily similar. Al Capone killed people, bootlegged, and did all sorts of crazy shit, but they could never nail him on those charges. Number one, he had a massive charisma, massive personality. People generally liked him, kind of like Mcafee. Number two, very rich, could fight charges very easily, like Mcafee. And number three is very anti-establishmentarian in the time. They got him on tax evasion charges. Couldn't get him on weapons charges, couldn't get him on killing, couldn't get him on bootlegging, no. You could only get him on tax evasion because it couldn't account for all of that extra money that he had. They did the same thing to fucking Mcafee, and they hoist him off into a prison cell in Spain and spend months trying to extradite him, finally get it, and then he turns up dead. Is it too early to say Mcafee did not kill himself? That maybe they wanted the extradition as a justification to just fucking off him because they didn't want him speaking out at all? You know, when you're in a Spanish prison, your capability of speaking with the outside world, possibly a little bit on the limited side. Do you think that it's possible that the Beijing-Biden administration would stoop so low as to have somebody who would be very, very difficult to deal with, of course, if he's actually extradited, is capable of speaking to the public, maybe he ends up, on bail, at least temporarily? That could be a big problem, because it's John Mcafee. Do you think maybe they'd just liquidate him, make it look like an accident? Well, it's sort of like Epstein, a lot of people wanted him liquidated as well. I wonder who and what did Mcafee know about the Clintons is what I have to ask. Did he go to any parties with Bill in the last 10 years? Did he sit in on a meeting with Chelsea at her wedding or something like that? Like a tarmac meeting about her wedding dress or about her yoga classes? That's what I really want to know. Now, as of this very moment, this is more or less confirmed. But it's like one of those situations where it's 99% confirmed, where you're hearing it from like RT in the Mirror and stuff. So it's reasonably reliable, but the U.S. media hasn't caught up. But that's mainly because of time zones and shit like that. I'm thinking to myself, found dead in his cell. Okay. Were there ligature marks? Did he shoot himself 3 times in the back like Vince Foster managed to do that time? I'm very, very interested to know, and I bet I'll never get an answer. That seems to be the MO of the deep state. When I look at him, when I look at the kind of particular egotistical character he is, he seems more like the kind of person who, if extradited, would simply drag it out in court for months and attempt to get bail just so that he could talk to the public because he's got a massive ego. He doesn't seem like the sort of person who would off himself. Now maybe, of course, there's always the possibility that the best fit is there's no conspiracy whatsoever. Mcafee got despondent, you're in a Spanish jail, you can get reasonably good food at that point, I guess, but communicating with people, maybe a little bit less. Something like that, there was a leak in the roof and the water kept dripping on him. It was like Chinese water torture. Couldn't take it anymore. It seems a little suspect though, now doesn't it? Normally when a prisoner dies in custody, by the way, the nation that's attempting to get him extradited, or the nation that they're from, asks a bunch of questions. I think it'll be telling if the United States doesn't do that with regards to this particular prisoner who happens to be held in Spain at the time. And I'm not going to hold my breath on there being any comprehensive investigation. Let's just put it that way. That's about all. Peace out.